Hello, hi. Today we are at the end of the lecture in Kingdom Fungi, which is about the classification of the fungi. In this lecture, we will be dealing about the classification of fungi, which is in your NCERT textbook, which is on the basis of the classification of the fungi, is on the basis of the separation of the mycelium and the type of reproduction seen in the fungi, on the basis of the type of reproduction seen in fungi. So throughout this lecture there will be my lecture note will be seen throughout this lecture. So in this lecture I will not be writing anything on the board unless some diagram apart from the textbook. So according to your textbook, the reproduction of the fungi it is based on the separation of the mycelium, and on the basis of the reproduction the fungi is divided into 4 classes: Phycomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes and the Deuteromycetes. So first of all we will be discussing about Phycomycetes, right? There are mainly 4 classes: Phycomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes and Deuteromycetes. I hope if you open your NCERT textbook with you, it will be better in this lecture. If you have your NCERT textbook offline or online, please open it and you should look into your textbook and I will be reading it. First of all, we will be discussing about the Phycomycetes. Phycomycetes is the first class which is referred on your NCERT textbook. The Phycomycetes, we will be discussing about the name of the class, then habitat and nutrition, then mycelium, how the mycelium is seen in the fungi, and about the reproduction and the example. We will be discussing it, the all subdivision in all classes. So first of all we will be discussing about the Phycomycetes. What are Phycomycetes? These are the first class which is referred, and it is found in the aquatic habitat. The habitat and the nutrition. First is about the habitat and the nutrition. First it is seen in the aquatic habitat, or the spores are seen in the aquatic habitat, or they are also seen in a place where the moisture content is high. They are placed in damp, they are seen in damp places, they are seen in moisture area. They are usually saprophytes. They are usually having a saprophytic nutrition or a parasitic nutrition. First of all, I think you know what is saprophytes and what are parasites. We discussed it earlier. What are saprophytic fungi and parasitic fungi? Saprophytic fungi are the fungi which obtain nutrition, which obtain their nourishment from dead and decayed organism through the process of absorption, right? And they can also be seen as parasites. They are also seen as a parasite. They are also seen as a parasitic nutrition. They also obtain nutrition by parasitic method. So what is their habitat? They are seen in aquatic habitat, found in moisture area, damp places. They are having a saprophytic and a parasitic nutrition. They are seen in decaying woods and damp places. Okay, this is the habitat and the nutrition of Phycomycetes, right? In parasitic mode of nutrition, they follow a nutrition which is known as obligate parasitic nutrition. Parasites in general can be divided into obligate parasites and facultative parasites, right? Here Phycomycetes follow obligate parasitism. What is obligate parasitism? The parasitism in which the parasite required the complete their nourishment, their reproduction, everything is completely dependent upon their host. If host is not there, there is no parasite. There is no Phycomycete fungi here if they are following parasitic mode. So what is obligate fungi? The fungi, or what are obligate parasites? The organism which require host in their life cycle for their absorption of nourishment and to complete their reproductive cycle. These are known as obligate parasites. There is also known as facultative parasites, the parasites which do not require host for the completion of their life cycle, but sometimes in their life cycle they may need host, but it is not compulsory. Even if the host is not present, they can live freely. Okay. And about the mycelia of Phycomycetes, they are having an aseptate and a cenocytic mycelium. What is aseptate and cenocytic mycelium? I have discussed it earlier. And about the reproduction in the fungi and the reproduction in the phycomycetes, they follow in asexual reproduction. They follow asexual reproduction, sexual reproduction also. In asexual reproduction, they follow zoospore formation and also aplanospore formation. What are zoospore and aplanospore? We know it, right? Zoospore are motile spores which are produced in a particular structure, right? Same as that of aplanospore, right? They are produced in a particular structures which are known as sporangium. So, asexual reproduction occurs by zoospore and aplanospore, right? And in case of the sexual reproduction in the fungi, phycomycetes, they follow the three methods: isogamy, anisogamy, and oogamous reproduction. Sexual reproduction, we know there are three main methods in sexual reproduction: the plasmogamy, the karyogamy, and the meiosis, right? Plasmogamy is the fusion of the protoplasm, then it goes to the next stage, which is known as the karyogamy, the nuclear fission, and next is the meiosis, which is the reductional division into haploid nuclei, right? So in sexual reproduction, they follow isogamy, anisogamy, and oogamous reproduction. So how does the plasmogamy occur in phycomycetes? The plasmogamy occur by mainly two methods: by planogametic copulation and also by the gametangial contact. I didn't mention planogametic copulation earlier because it was not mentioned in your textbook, but I will say that they follow planogametic copulation and also gametangial contact. What is planogametic copulation? Planogametes are the gametes which are motile in nature. The gametes which are known as motile are known as planogametes. Motile means if this is a gamete, this is also a gamete, they both are having flagella. And planogametic copulation is the copulation or the fusion between two nuclei which are either motile or non-motile. But what are planogametes? The gametes, the motile gametes. Planogametes are the motile gametes. Usually the planogametic copulation were seen in the oldest group of fungi, which are primitive fungi. So sexual reproduction in phycomycetes can occur by the process of three methods: isogamy, anisogamy, and oogamy. And the plasmogamy is done by planogametic copulation and also the gametangial contact. I also said what is gametangial contact. A germination tube arises from the fungi, right? From the male gamete, and the male nuclei is transferred to the female cell or the female gamete, and they get fused together. This is what was gametangial contact. And the examples of the fungi which undergo phycomycetes, which are in phycomycetes, are the Rhizopus, Mucor, and the Albugo. Rhizopus is common, the bread mold, right? Rhizopus is the common bread mold, and Mucor, which is a dung mold, and also Albugo, which is a parasite which is seen on the mustard plant. I also mentioned it earlier, Albugo candida, right? Albugo candida was a parasitic fungi, which is a parasitic fungi which was seen in the wheat plant, right? I earlier mentioned it the previous lecture. So this is about the phycomycetes fungi, right? Everything which is going through this slide is from your textbook, right? Only 2-3 points are added for your information, which is for the NEET purpose. Next is about the ascomycetes fungi. Usually phycomycetes fungi do not have a common name, right? But an ascomycetes fungi have a common name. They are because of the formation of an ascus, right? They are known as sac fungi. What is sac? We know what is a sac, right? The English word sac means like this, right? We used to carry items, luggage in the sense some grocery items we used to carry, or we used to pack it, right? Sac is the thing. So ascomycetes fungi are known as the sac fungi because they have a structure which is similar to that of a sac. If you have observed in your surrounding you may have seen a fungi which is known as Pizziza. Pizziza is also known as a cup fungi because they are in this class, right? Or we can say they are in this phylum Ascomycota. Please don't get bothered about the phylum kingdom because it is not necessary in this lecture or in this chapter because we will be studying it later. We just need to study the classification of fungi, but I am saying that it is the cup fungi belong to phylum Ascomycota. So if you have observed in your surrounding, you may have seen the fungi Ascomycota from the phylum Ascomycota, which is having a cup-like structure. So this belongs to the phylum Ascomycota. Pizziza is the fungi. It is also known as the cup fungi, right? They are having a cup-like structure, like, right? Cup-like structure is the modification of the mycelia. It is a vegetative structure, right? For the purpose of the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction in this fungi is by the method of ascospore formation. Ascospore is a type of sporangiospore or a planospore, right? Which is a sexual spore which is formed in a particular structure which is known as the ascus or the sporangium. Here it is known as the ascus, right? Ascus is usually in the shape of a sac. Thus it is known as a sac fungi. The organism which belong to this are known as sac fungi. So what is their habitat? Usually they are found in terrestrial environment, right? Terrestrial environment usually on dung. This fungi is usually seen in cow dung, right? So it is a coprophilous fungi. Coprophilous fungi is a fungi which is seen in cow dung, in the dung of the animal. So it is having a terrestrial habitat, grows especially on cow dung. It is a saprophytic or a parasitic fungi, right? Now talking about its mycelium, they are having a septate and a branched mycelium. Septate means they are having a septa. I also mentioned that septa may be classified into three types: dolichopore, right? Simple pore and a complete septa, right? Septa may be divided into three types. So they are having a mycelia which is septate and branched. Reproduction, they are having a simple fragmentation in vegetative reproduction. Asexual also, they are having a conidia formation. Everything is mentioned earlier in your textbook and also in my lecture note, previous lectures, right? And sexual reproduction, I earlier mentioned, it is by the formation of the sexual spore, which is known as the ascospore, which is formed in a specialized sac-like structure, which is known as the ascus, right? And we know that ascospore is a type of sporangiospore which do not have the presence of flagella, right? No flagella. Some of the examples are the yeast, which is a unicellular fungi, and also penicillium, which is also unicellular fungi, and other example is neurospora, morels and buffles, which are an edible fungi which is used for food purpose, right? So this is the thing which is to be noted in the ascomyces fungi. Comparing with the ascospore, right? Ascospores are produced in a particular structure which is known as the sporangio. Means it is produced in a specialized structure which is known as ascus. Ascus are produced internally. The spores are produced internally, then they are released later. So these are the things to be remembered in the ascomycets, right? Next is about the third class, which is known as basidiomycetes, right? In this basidiomycetes class, we can see mushrooms, the fungi which will produce mushrooms. I earlier said the common mushroom which are seen in our environment, the mushroom structure, what are they? Mushroom structures are actually the fruit producing structure, the spore producing structure, right? Fruiting body, the structures which produces the spores, sporangiospores, right? Sporangium, actually they are the spore producing structures. The mushrooms, they are actually the modification of mycelium, or they are the modification of hyphae, right? So next, basidiomycetes, they are also known as club fungi or bracket fungi, or they are known as the mushroom or puffballs, etc. Okay, they are having a terrestrial habitat growing on the stem, tree logs. They are having a saprophytic and a parasitic mode of nutrition. They are having a septate and a branched hypha. Okay, why they are known as club fungi? Ascomycetes were also having a common name, other name, which were known as sac fungi. But in case of basidiomycetes, they are having a particular structure. They are also having a common name, which is known as a terrestrial habitat, and they grow on stems, tree logs. They are having a saprophytic and a parasitic nutrition. The mycelium is septate and branched. The vegetative reproduction, they show fragmentation. Sexual reproduction is by the basidiospore formation, a basidium. So thus their name is basidiomycetes. In case of ascus, ascomycetes, right? Some of the examples they show are mushrooms, Puccinia, astilago, right? And some of the examples of yeast, some of the examples of the ascomycetes are the yeast, which is a unicellular, Penicillium, which is a multicellular organism, and a neurospora, which is used for biochemical and genetical studies, morels and buffles, which are used for eating purpose, edible mushrooms, they can be consumed. Okay, so this is the case of the basidiomycetes. Basidiomycetes produces their sexual organ, which is known as sexual spore producing organ, which is known as the basidium. The basidium produces externally 4 spores, which are released later. But in case of the ascomycetes, they are produced internally. The spores were produced internally in ascus. These were the difference between the ascomycetes and the basidiomycetes fungi. Okay, next, the last fungi, which is known as the diatromycetes. Diatromycetes are known as the imperfect fungi, because why their name is known as imperfect fungi? Because they only show their imperfect stage, which is known as asexual stage. Asexual stage is known as imperfect stage. They do not have a sexual stage, thus they are known as imperfect fungi or fungi imperfecta, because they show only their asexual stage. The asexual stage is by the formation of conidia, which are formed in conidiophores. Okay, the other thing is that they do not produce the sexual reproduction, thus they are known as fungi imperfecti. Some of the examples which belongs to the diatromycetes are Alternaria, Trichoderma, and Colitotrichum. Okay, these are the things to be remembered, and the habitat and the nutrition which are in diatromycetes they form a terrestrial habitat. They are seen in a terrestrial habitat. They are seen usually on the leaf, which are freshly fallen leaves. Therefore, they also show saprophytic and a parasitic mode of nutrition. They are having a septate and branched mycelia, and the examples are the Alternaria, Colitotrichum, and the Trichoderma. So this is the end of your kingdom fungi's classification. The things to be remembered is that the 4 classes of fungi, their example, their mycelium, type. The example is to be noted precisely for your NEET preparing aspirants. The 4 classes and their common names should be remembered. Diatromycetes is known as fungi imperfecti. So this is the end of the lecture series of kingdom fungi. The next lecture or the next lecture series will be soon. So I hope you like my video, you like my lecture. So please mention your valuable comments in the comment box, and what are the things I should be rectifying or the things I should be adding in the next lecture. Thank you very much.